Chapter 11 World Ranking. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Everyone, today we will have a transfer student with us. I expect you all to be best when dealing with our new student. Did the teacher have to hype me up that much? Or was this a common thing? But with 100 students here, I doubt the teacher would care. No, he was saying that because of my rank. 2 days had passed since the day we went on our shopping trip. Over the days, I got a new phone along with a storage ring. The spacing for this thing is 5 by 5 meters long, which could carry a lot. Since it could carry a lot, the ring was hella expensive, $50 million gone like that. Let's hope I won't somehow spend $1 billion before the end of the year. When the teacher finished talking, Nene and I went into the classroom. With 100 students in the room, everyone here began to observe me. Student Charles, why don't you introduce yourself? I sighed inwardly. I wasn't here to make friends, so I will make a warning. I'm Charles Anderson. Just call me Charles. I'm incredibly petty, so as long as you don't mess with me, I don't care what you do. My introduction won't earn me any friends. That was fine, not like I had any, to begin with. That certainly was an interesting introduction. The teacher, Mr. Trek, gave me a wry smile. Student Charles, why don't you make your way to an empty seat with your aide? From the looks of it, the aides here don't have the right to sit on a chair. Everyone looked at Nene and me with interest. Both of us were at the 3rd digit with our ranking. The seating in this place was strange. Every row had a mini stair, making my way somewhere in the middle left. My neighbor was a girl with white hair and blue eyes. Like me, she also had an aide. The aide was an old man that looked professional. Not everyone here had an aide. Raina Burgess. The girl next to me introduced herself. Raina was the exact opposite of Nene. Her blank look made it hard to tell what she thought. Checking her rank, she is number 53020. One of the highest in this class. I shouldn't compare her to me. After all, I'm irregular. Charles Anderson. Reintroducing myself, Raina stared at me. It was awkward, seeing her look at me intensely without saying anything. Sorry about my lady. She has a hard time expressing herself. I could see that just by looking at her. Unable to say anything else, I put my concentration on the teacher. Did you know there are 5 rankings that divide each world? From 1st being the worst and 5th being the best. Does anyone know what we are ranked in? So each world has its ranking. I wouldn't be surprised if we were ranked low. The 2nd rank. Someone from the crowd had answered randomly, but seeing how he answered it in the form of a question, he was guessing. Unfortunately, we aren't. Our world is relatively new to the ranking system, so we would still be at the 1st rank. How strong are the people in the 5th rank world? A different student who was curious asked. That was a good question, if I had to say so. An average person there is hundreds of times stronger than the average person. That is a huge difference. I wonder how the world operates. If I was there, I wonder if I could survive. Most people here were shocked by the difference in strength. If that so happens to be the case, everyone would die the moment they landed on a 5th rank world. Mr. Trek, why is there such a huge difference? Every time a world ranks up, the reward for rankings also increases. There is good news for being in a low rank. Only worlds from the same rank could invade another. So worlds in the 2nd rank and above can't attack us, or they will face a penalty. That was good to know. A person from a 5th rank world can't just slap us to death in an instant. Everyone who heard that sighed in relief. Knowing they would be safe from those people gave them a sense of security. Then how do we increase our world ranking? A student had asked. Everyone listened intently, waiting for the teacher's answer. The teacher had a regretful sigh when the student asked. The average strength of our world has to surpass a specific limit. Or the strongest man has to be insanely strong, which neither of us could do. Wait, doesn't it mean we're fucked because the people in our worlds are too weak? There are certain advantages and disadvantages to being in a low-ranking world. Then, is there any way to change our ranking into a different world? If that were possible, all the high-ranking people would have left our world long ago. You'll always be ranked in this world since you were all born here. I then looked at Nene, seeing that her rank was shown to mean that she was born on our green and blue planet. Before a few more discussions, the lesson was over. We will be having physical training for our next class. Nene, could we go back? If it is only training, could you help me with it? With my rank being high, it was better for me to stay away from the public view. I don't want to embarrass myself since I don't know how to fight correctly. Yesh. Master. Reina, beside me, looked like she wanted to say a word. But before she could do so, Nene grabbed my hand and dragged me back home. Arriving back home, I still couldn't get used to it. With how stupidly large this place was, it was sometimes hard to forget which room was which. Getting down to the basement, Nene started to teach me the bare basics. Chapter 12 Training and a bit of service. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nene, what will we be doing first? Since Nene is my trainer, she should know where I should start. So asking her is the best option. We will start your physical capabilities. Run in a lap at your full speed without stopping. Doing what she said, I ran at full speed. The first few seconds were easy, but later down the line, it got too exhausting. What is my time? That I was breathing heavily. It took a while before I caught my breath. This was my first time sprinting for this long. 1 minute and 50 seconds. Is that good or bad? I had been beaten up a lot, so my stamina should be good. And coupled with the fact that I have been sweating daily wearing a costume for an amusement park. Now we're going to see how strong you're. My training room had everything I needed. Nene, who was strong, made sure that I had it. You'll punch this thing. What she pointed out was a machine that looked like a giant drum. Doing what she instructed, I tried my hardest to punch the machine, and the results showed 450 kilograms. Now, use your legs. I then switched to a kick and hit it. I did 800 kilograms. Compared to my punch, my kick was so much stronger. I see. How did I do? My results should be above average. It's pretty bad. It hurts when she says it with a straight face. Pretty bad. I guess that is her standard for being a top fighter. I see. What should I do to improve? From Nene's point of view, my results were terrible. That means I would have a lot to improve on. Nene should have a way for me to improve quickly. We'll be building your stamina first. And how would I do that? You'll be running until you drop dead. Just from hearing those words, my motivation had dropped. Since I didn't want her to be disappointed, I ran with all my might. For this training session, I would only run. The best way for us to train was to deplete my stamina. Nene was here to observe me. I don't know how people have to drive to do something like this. After losing all of my stamina, I would take a minute or two to rest. Nene, who always looked cute and energetic, suddenly looked like a demon. She would feed me a stamina potion and urge me to continue. And an hour later, I couldn't feel my legs. I can't believe I did that. I told myself I would never suffer again, and now I'm suffering from success. Good job, Master. I knew you could do it. I heard Nene cheering me on, and it lightened my heart. My progress on the ranking was slow, but I had made 2 digits of improvement in the physique department. I will take you to the bath. My sweat could be seen a mile away. The clothing that I was wearing was wet. I needed to take a nice relaxing bath. Now that I think about it, I had registered that Nene would take me to one. She is not going in with me, right? Did you say you're taking me to the bath? Yep. I guess I didn't hear wrong. Nene then held me in a princess carry and ran to the bathroom. I was too tired to care what was going on. Nene took me and stripped me naked with her nimble hands. With the shower running, the water rinsed all my body sweat. She also stripped naked, and we both took a shower together. Despite her immature personality, her body was in a whole different league. Sometimes I wondered how her breast could be that big. Seeing that I was staring, Nene didn't seem disturbed by it. In fact, she smiled as if she was teasing me. Master, you're pretty big down there, he. Like me, she was also staring at my male parts. She stared at my crotch. It was pretty uncomfortable to have my manhood stared at. Even if it was hypocritical of me to stare at her, she seemed to relish being looked at. From the looks of it, she is confident in her body. My body was thoroughly cleaned with her applying both body wash and shampoo. Even though she was insanely strong, her hands were soft and delicate. But to think that she would use her body to wash me. I don't know if she is doing this intentionally or not. Even with her humming and happy face, I still couldn't tell what she was thinking. Master. We're done. Let's go to the hot tub. After our shower, Nene took me to my hot tub to relax. When I first entered my hot tub during my first night here, I couldn't help but be amazed. Being poor, I didn't have any chance to enjoy luxury like this. Entering this place for the first time was an experience on its own. That was when I felt my body could relax on its own. Once entering the hot tube with my sore body, I felt that this place was more like heaven. It was incomparably better once you finished working out. Nene, who also entered, couldn't help but purr quietly, entering the tub. Hey, Nene, do you mind if I ask you some questions? I didn't want to be too insensitive, so I asked. Go ahead. Seeing that she didn't mind me doing so, I asked. There was always this one thing that came to my mind. With your capability, why did you become my maid? You seemed close to Lindsay, so I doubt she forced you into this. From what I saw, they seemed pretty close. And from how Nene is acting, she is here on her own accord. Not that I wanted to doubt her, but it was too suspicious for anyone to do something like this. Chapter 13 Nene, Part 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Nene was silent when hearing what I said. She didn't look too concerned but was thinking about what to say. From today's lesson, you should know I was born here, right? I nodded, knowing what she said. Both of my parents were invaders. That came as a surprise when she mentioned it. But with her features, it was plausible that her parents were invaders. I get that her parents were invaders, but how does this tie to her being my maid? This story might take a while. My parents were both stupid. When Nene talked about her parents, she looked at them with hatred. I guess we're similar in some ways. I don't know what drove them to attack. Reminiscing, she sighed and continued talking. Not to brag or anything, but my parents at the time were strong enough to beat the first person in the past ranking in combat power. The rankings could easily change, and everyone would get rewards for their corresponding rank. Not all rewards for the top ranking would always be good. With their strength, they got too cocky. They didn't have information about the technology in this world. And because of that, they were swarmed. That wasn't hard to see. With our technology, attacking our world would quickly notify every competent fighter in this world. And if the enemy were deemed too dangerous, we would use drastic measures to eliminate the enemy at all costs. My parents somehow got out of the battle but were wounded deeply. They tried to leave the world to return from where they're from but couldn't. While fighting, someone had put a curse on them and made them unable to leave. So, that was how it was. Guessing where she was going, her parents would die sooner or later. Recovering, my parents made a miscalculation. My mother got pregnant with my father. Nene couldn't help but be disappointed in them in their decision. That was stupid of them. They were already in a terrible position, now with some liability. It would be harder to live. Then we get to the day my birth was coming. My parents were unlucky and were found during the day. With my mother giving birth, my father was forced to surrender. You get the gist of it, right? I nodded. In the end, their parents were captured. But that is not all of the stories. You do know what happens to invaders, right? They get executed. Do you blame the people that executed them? I can't tell. Nene had shown no signs of this hatred, but I only have been with her for a few days so I wouldn't know. No, it was their fault for attacking. I can't blame the people for protecting their hometown. From the looks of it, what she was saying was true. She looked relaxed and continued talking. I was originally going to be executed along with my parents. Just because I was their child. But because of Lindsay, she convinced the executioners to let me live. Lindsay. Wait, if she had power back then how old is she? I shook that thought away and listened to what Nene had to say. Since then, I have lived my life to serve Lindsay. I don't regret serving her, even with her nasty personality. I like her. I was grateful that she let me live. The story is coming to a close, and Nene's reason for becoming my maid will soon be revealed. Then, a week ago, Lindsay found someone interesting. And that person is you. That was the day of my birthday. Seeing me ranked pretty high in skill would make someone noticeable. Searching for your profile paper, I read it with Lindsay. That was when I decided you and I are similar in some ways. Like you, we have no family. And we are also the subject of hate. Like me, you are also high in rank. That's why I decided you would be my potential mate. Mate. Did she mean what I think she meant? No wonder why she was so friendly with me all this time. She did not answer and continued. I will observe whether or not I want to be with you. If you failed to meet my expectation, I would, at most, leave in months. That was understandable. No one wanted to serve someone who didn't deserve to be served. Then how am I right now in your eyes? I asked her since she had already evaluated me, and I wanted to see where I was on the list. You're not perfect, but doing better than I expected. Nene was sitting beside me. She then got up, sat on my lap, and leaned in for a kiss. Our kiss lasted for a minute before she stopped. I didn't expect to lose my first kiss in this manner. That's why, master, please don't disappoint me. With all that said, we were silent. Nene had said what she wanted. Nene then carried me out of the tub and got me to bed. Nene, let's get takeout for dinner. My body was still sore, and making food in this condition would suck. Of course. Her usual attitude was back, and she was happy to get some takeouts for dinner. We need to hire a chef. My food was okay, but I can't be compared to a professional chef. Nene, do you know where we could hire a chef? Yes, do you want one? It would be better than me cooking. Then we will get one. After that, Nene fed me dinner. Today was something else, for sure. I learned a lot about Nene, and most of my doubts regarding her had disappeared. I couldn't get that out of my mind from what she said in her talk. I felt much closer to Nene, and the expectations that she had wanted from me were apparent. Having the expectations of someone that is serving me is a different experience, but not a bad one at all. Chapter 14 Student Council Invitation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Waking up on my bed, I felt something holding me. Something was behind me, and when I turned around, I found Nene holding on to me. What time was it? It was hard to move with Nene being clung on to me, but looking at the time, it was already 8 in the morning. Nene. Calling her name, I shook her body, waking her up. With her awake, she opened her eyes and let out a yawn. Morning, master. For a maid, she wasn't good with waking up. Maybe it was because she was part cat. Getting up from my bed, I changed my clothes and prepared to make breakfast for the both of us. Making mashed potatoes with bacon and eggs, breakfast was ready to eat. Still a bit exhausted, Nene had woken up from the smell of my food. I had made a lot of serving just in case Nene wouldn't have enough. I didn't want her to look depressed from an empty stomach. Master. Are you ready? After breakfast, Nene and I brushed our teeth and prepared for class. Even though we were early, I would like to see what this school offers. We haven't explored much other than entering our room. Hey, did you hear? A student named Charles Anderson is in the second rank in skills and has recently transferred to our school. I wonder what he likes. Overhearing someone talking, I didn't expect my name to be the topic. Nene, who had also listened in, couldn't help but giggle. Since my appearance wasn't public, the people talking didn't know what I looked like. But overhearing them, I couldn't help but think that if my face got out, I would be the center of attention every time. Hey, isn't that Charles? I looked at the person who said that. He was probably one of my 100 classmates that I didn't know. But since that guy shouted my name, I have been getting stares from everyone. Master. You sure are popular. Nene laughed, unfazed by the gaze that had come our way. Was there no way to make everyone here stop? With us attracting the attention of everyone, someone who looked like a student had come our way. Charles Anderson, I presume. The man who had walked up to me had asked for my name. Yes, I'm. Do you need anything? Looking at the guy had blonde hair and blue eyes. He seems like a fairly confident person. I don't know what he is like, but he wasn't meeting me for something terrible. I'm Kingsley Fisher, a member of the student council. Someone from the student council. I didn't think I would meet someone from the student council on the second day of my arrival. The student council has invited you to be a potential member. We'll be waiting for you after class. Before I could say anything, Kingsley walked away. The short conversation that we had already attracted any nearby students. Did you hear that? To think he would already be invited to the student council. Yeah. That's amazing. I'm so jealous. Why can't I be invited? You aren't even special. Of course, you wouldn't be invited. Even though they complimented me, hearing what they said was audible was embarrassing. Leaving the area, we walked to class. Student council, heh. But what is the point? If there were no benefits, then I wouldn't need to join. Hey, Nene. Yes, Master. Do you know anything about the student council? I heard that the student council has some authorities that most students wouldn't. Then do you think joining the student council will be worth my time? I don't exactly have the information about the student council. For all I know, the student council could waste my time. Master. Why don't you check it out? If it doesn't interest you, it's not like they could force you to join. What Nene said was correct. Then all I would have to do is wait for class to be over and head to the student council's office. With us arriving at class, some students were already in the room. Nene's appearance was noticeable, and because of that, they could easily recognize who I was. I then took the seat where I was previously and sat there. Reina, who was beside me, was already in her seat. Should I change my seat? It was getting unbearable for her to stare at me. Good morning. After a while of staring, she greeted me. Good morning. This is awkward. We weren't the type to go out of our way to talk to one another unless necessary. And because of it, it made it awkward. Nene couldn't help but enjoy this atmosphere. Did she garner some traits from Lindsay? There were times when she enjoyed my suffering. Nene, I will remember this. Before the awkward atmosphere came crawling in, our teacher arrived. Taking my eyes off Reina, I could still feel her gaze. Class is now in session, everyone. I would like you all to listen. Today's class will be about world travel. That is an exciting topic to start with. But I can't help but wonder how someone would travel through another world. Yesterday's topic was about invaders, but how do they invade worlds? Does anyone here know what is needed to travel to a different world? The teacher asked, checking if anyone knew. Seeing that no one had an answer for it, the teacher continued. There are two ways to do so. For the first method, once you reach the top 1000 in the overall ranking, there is a chance you'll receive a token that will allow you to invade or visit a different world randomly. So there is a chance for me to receive this reward. I wonder how much money it would cost to sell it. This method is risky, but since it is given to the top 1000, most of you shouldn't worry about this method. That would be risky. Going to an environment you don't know is scary, and if the civilians of that country mistook you for an invader, it would be annoying. As for the second method, you would need a teleportation device already linked to the other world. Our world already has some connections to some other worlds. Organizations such as the Interdimensional Union Committee do their best to establish a close relationship to those other worlds. Wasn't that where I was working for? Chapter 15 Student Council Meeting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Since I'm going to work there, does that mean I will travel a lot? I mean, I don't mind. If I'm safe, something like that won't bother me. These two methods would make world traveling possible. On the other hand, selling them would be more profitable if you receive a reward like this. I heard the price of these things could go for billions. You could easily earn more resources selling them. By hearing what the teacher said, greed couldn't help but fill my mind, billions worth more than my yearly pay. I couldn't help but grin sweetly, having the thought of gaining a token. It wasn't just me, some students couldn't help but dream of getting those rewards. It looks like I learned something new again. Jasmine was right. There were many lessons where I learned something. A few more lessons later, and class had finished. Before I could leave, Reina, my seatmate, grabbed my arm. Is there something you need? Do you have any plans for tonight? I didn't think she would be that bold to grab my arm. Her blank face makes it hard to tell what she wants from me. Sorry, but I have a meeting with the student council. Have a good day. Even when I told her I would leave, her arm was still grabbed onto me. When is she letting go? Could you let go of my arm? Dealing with her exhausts me greatly. Her stoic face was unnerving, and I could never tell what she would ask. Young miss, would you let go of his arm? Reina's aide then stepped in. Young Master Charles, if possible, could you meet young miss later? I don't have anything planned in mind after today. We could meet tomorrow. Reina then let my arm go. Should I curse her? While she hasn't harmed me, she is still troubling me. There was no need to rush, but I will keep this in mind. Master. You sure have your ways with women, don't you? You know that's not what happened. Nene tried to tease me, but I shook the thought out of my mind. I then made my way to the student council with Nene. This place is stupidly large. It took us 10 minutes to go to my class from the student council office. Nene and I walked into the room, and 4 students were sitting down. Charles Anderson. That's right. I'm Aaron Hansen, the student council president. Unlike Kingsley, who radiated confidently, Aaron was as still as water. Aaron, the student council president, was at the 5,240 overall rankings. His rank was higher than mine when I started to get my rank. Not bad for a student council member. Kingsley here has already sent you an invitation to the student council, so what will be your answer? Aaron got straight to the point. That was something that I could get down on. But that wouldn't mean I would join right away. What benefits would I get if I joined? Benefits. Aaron and the other 3 student council members were surprised by what I asked. What? Do they expect me to join without any? Your reputation within the academy will be well known. I don't need my reputation to be higher. It was already high enough and had already been troubling me. And with my rank, everyone would be bound to notice me. You will also get priority to use any of the school's facilities. That wasn't something that I cared for. The school only cares about one ranking. If I wanted something from the school, they wouldn't reject what I wanted unless it was unreasonable. Is there anything else? There is, but the others are only minor benefits. From what he said, there wasn't much that I could gain. There wasn't any reason for me to join. Then what will I be doing as a student council member? You'll have to set expectations for the student, and for any problems within the academy, you will have to sort them out. What kind of shit is this? Looking at the other 3, 2 were girls, and the other was Kingsley. Observing all 4 of them, they seemed to care deeply about one's status. Now I could see why they joined. Sorry, but I will have to reject your offer. I have other things to do. I don't think I will get along with any student council members. I would rather not get in trouble with these people. Is that so? Then if you change your mind, feel free to come by. Since we were done with this whole business, I made my way out of the room. Aaron took what I said pretty easily. But the other 3 didn't take my rejection as lightly. Well, it doesn't matter what they do. I don't care what they think as long as they don't mess with me. Master, you're too popular. What next? An invitation to a date. Oh right. That's tomorrow. Nene was too energetic for her good. I needed to punish her for being too cheeky. Master, are you ready for today's practice? I couldn't help but groan when hearing the word practice. Yesterday was something that I wouldn't want to go through. While I had experienced pain many times, it wasn't something anyone would want to go through. I thought my painful life would be gone with my high ranking. But I guess I was destined to feel pain. Hey, Nene. Yes. Master. Are there any potions that could increase my physique during training? If I'm going to suffer from training, why don't I maximize the benefits of training? I had money but could earn more from using it, even though I was greedy for money. Yes, there is. Could we get them for my next training regiment? If you want. With that in mind, I will order a training enhancement potion for my next regiment. Upon arriving at our house, we began where we had left off. Chapter 16 Reina's request. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Reina, do you want to talk about this in private? It was now after the 3rd day of class. Reina, who had wanted to speak with me, now had the chance. Yes, I would like this to be in private. Montgomery, I would like to talk to Charles in private. Could I get your aide to leave also? I then looked at Nene and nodded my head for her to leave. With the 2 of them leaving, only Reina and I remained. She had wanted me to follow her to the back of the school's courtyard, where not many people would come. What did she want from me? I doubt it was a confession or some sort. She doesn't look interested in me in a romantic sense. So, what do you want? I have a request for you. She stared me in the eyes. Even her usual blank look had changed into something serious. It might be something big if she was this serious. I want you to kill my older brother. Hearing what Reina had requested, I didn't know how to react. My family could be shitty, but what did her brother do for her sister to make such a request? And why would I do that? I had no problems with killing itself, but there was also no reason for me to do so. I will reward you for the job. Now that got me interested. The word reward rings in my ear. What will you give me? Of course, if the rewards were too low, then there was no way I would do it. I have a skill. Leveling capsule. Were these things common? Lindsay had given me one, but I didn't expect Reina to have one. She does look like she is from a wealthy family. And to add that she wants to kill her brother meant the chances were higher. Do you have proof? We can sign a geas. I see. If that is the case, then that should be no problem. But what makes her so sure that I could kill her brother? Even if my skill ranking is high, it doesn't mean my skill has to be an attacking one. What makes you so sure that I could kill your brother? If you don't mind me asking. I just know. It's not like I could force her to answer it, but a deal is a deal. I will kill her brother for a skill. Leveling capsule. Then do you have a geas prepared? Taking out a geas from her storage, she seemed prepared for this. The current geas was blank, but she would add the content now. I was reading what she wrote. Once the contract is signed, the signer and signee must do what the contract requests. The signer would have to kill Tristan Burgess. After line 2 is completed, the signer must give the signee a skill. Leveling capsule. Add the condition of you never framing me and having the lead of me being the killer. Reina could easily screw me over if she wanted to be the scapegoat. Adding to this condition, the worry of Reina betraying was now gone. So, when do we start? Noel.n. From what I'm seeing, Reina doesn't understand what I meant. When should I kill him? Do you know how I could get near him? Or any plan to get rid of him? I sighed when she said nothing. She had nothing planned. If she wanted her brother killed, then she should have a plan for it. Why don't we discuss this later after you provide the information? She nodded, now understanding what I wanted. And with that, we left the back of the courtyard. Master. Did you do pervy things? My eyes twitched when Nene said that Montgomery, who was Reina's aide, couldn't help but ask Reina if everything was okay. Nene, don't give the old man a heart attack. Since we had no more business, the two of us parted. Nene and I went back home, and today we will meet our staff at my house. After deciding to get a chef, we might as well get maids and butlers. Nene, who attends to me everywhere, wouldn't be able to look after the house. We have hired 5 people as our house caretakers. Now that we were home, these 5 would come by in 10 minutes. And then 10 minutes had passed, and Nene went out to fetch them. Nene came back and had 5 people with her. One of them is a grandpa with a grandma. They are a married couple that work together. Aled and Edna. Aled would be working as a gardener while Edna would be our chef. Aled had neatly trimmed gray hair. He has a great build, even for his age. I wouldn't be surprised if he were strong during his prime. Having 6 digits in ranking is something to be proud of. Edna looked like a typical old granny. She is Aled's wife and is less talented. But since she was a chef, it didn't matter. The other 3 were girls. One in their mid-30s is married. And one in their early 20s and one at the same age as me. Elena is a married woman with brown hair and brown eyes. She stood out a bit because of her stature. It was concerning that she looked a bit too thin. Then we have Rose in her early 20s. If I were lustful, I would have snagged her. Rose has blonde hair and blue eyes. Her body was unreasonably well indulged. If she wanted to charm someone, she could easily do it. I wondered what she wanted here. She had no reason to work as a maid when she easily worked elsewhere. And finally, we have Bella. She wasn't as charming as Ava but had a harmless aura around her, making one easily relaxed. Bella had black hair and purple eyes like mine. I welcome you all to my house. You can all get a day's worth of rest in your room. Tomorrow is when all of you start working. Chapter 17 Servants. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Working in my house, I allowed these people to live in my house. In the geas they signed, they would be paid and allowed to live here as long as they worked. I added additional rules to stuff like stealing, betraying, and killing. Who knows, they might be assassins or people that worked for others that are using their role as my servant as a cover. Today they would be allowed to explore the house and communicate with one another. This way, the atmosphere around them wouldn't be too awkward. Now that they had gone to their rooms, Nene and I returned to the underground training room. The training drugs or potions were now here, and the results I would get will be much higher. The drugs that I bought are 5 times more effective on regular training. It lasts about 2 hours and costs $5 million per bottle. Nene, when will I be doing something else? I was curious, other than running around for an hour straight, what else might I be doing? In a month, I will be teaching you self-defense. A month. That was still a long way away. I wondered if I could make it that far without complaining. Maybe some motivational words could help. Is there a way for you to motivate me? Aha. Nene looked up and began to think. When an idea popped into her head, she grinned happily. Maybe, I shouldn't have said anything. Master, as my potential mate. I can't let you be weak in bed. So train hard. Weak in bed. That was the last thing any male wanted to hear. But for her to whisper in my ear surprised me a bit. Drinking a bottle worth of training medicine, I started my daily training. Nene. I can't move. I had overdone it this time. Since my potion lasted 2 hours, I had to double my training for a maximum value. Even with the recovery potion, I still felt sore. My body was sweating like crazy. I had lost control of my body. Nene, supervising me, had dumped a bucket of water on me. With how much sweat I was covered, no one wanted to touch me. Feeling the cold water touch me, I felt a little refreshed. Master. Good job. I can't believe how my overall ranking improved by 1 rank. I'm now ranked 922, which was 1 up my previous rank. Oh. To think your rank had improved this early. Nene was astounded by the increase that I made. Nene, who was at 893, was someone close to me. If I could keep my momentum up, I would pass her in no time. Of course, I would. I'm at the age where I should improve the most. Nene, I'm going to beat you sooner or later. Is that so? Then that's good. If you do, I'll reward you. Reward. The way she words it sounds sexual. But maybe, it was an actual reward. You never know what comes out of her mouth. After that small session, Nene took me to the bath, and dinner came around. I was having dinner with everyone in the house. It was a good way for me to see who they truly were. With Nene acting as my limb, she would be feeding me. Yes, this interaction was weird in the eyes of these people, but what could I do with my sore body? Young master, sometimes overtraining could worsen your condition. Aled, the old man, had already started to call me master. But as expected from him, he could tell that I was training by looking at my condition at first glance. Don't worry. Master's regeneration potion will fix the problem. Before I could talk, Nene butted in and did the explaining. I also thought 2 hours was excessive, but with the potion's effects, I found it a waste to stop early. How do you all find your living space? Changing the topic, I asked how they found living in the mansion. Their opinion could easily change after all. They just moved in today. Although the place is a bit too big, my husband and I are thankful for your hospitality. Edna, Aled's wife, spoke in a sweet and gentle tone. Someone a bit over-friendly to someone who she had just met. I quite like it. I appreciate you letting me stay. Elena, who was a bit nervous, thanked me wholeheartedly. I had read from the report that she was married, but for her to be a bit relieved of being here made it seem like there was something wrong happening to her. Was her husband abusing her in some way? Even if Elena wanted to go on a diet, she shouldn't be this thin. Master Charles, I quite like this place. I thank you for letting me stay in a place like this. Rose, who answered next, was well-spoken. While Rose couldn't harm me from the geas, her intention of working for me was still unknown. Even if my rank was high, there was no need to suck up to me with her looks. Thank you for accepting me. Bella bowed her head and looked at me nervously. She is freaking out more than she needs to. It might be a while for her to get used to me, but I didn't mind as long as it didn't hinder her from working. Over dinner time, I talked to everyone about various things. Edna was the one who spoke the most. She was willing to speak, and so we did. Rose was the second person who spoke the most. Even so, she was still suspicious in my eyes. I hope she won't cause trouble for anyone here. Aled was next, and he had retired from his life as a fighter. Even if he could live without working, he still applied to be my gardener as a hobby. Bella and Elena had barely spoken, but I could sense that they weren't people I should be wary of. Elena didn't talk much about herself, so she probably didn't want to say anything about her past. Finally, Bella was someone fidgety. She liked to hear what the other person had to say. Her ranking was pretty low. Maybe her low self-confidence was because of it. And with that, dinner was over, and I wanted to rest. Nene took me to my bed and crawled in with me. She has been doing this every day since we first bathed together. Without thinking about it more, I went to sleep. Chapter 18 Reina, you are listening at novelfull.audio. 2 days later, no class was in session. It was the weekend, and Reina and I decided to implement our plans. The two of us would leave the academy secretly and go to the UK. The Burgesses' prominent family lives there, and Reina's brother would be my target. I told Nene I would be doing a business deal with a customer. She wanted to help, but I had to decline her offer. I didn't want anyone to be suspicious. As for Reina, she had Montgomery go on a business plan to a different country. The plan was pretty simple. Reina, who is from a wealthy family, would provide all the necessary tools for this mission to succeed. Yesterday, Reina planned on going to the UK with me. When we land in the country, we would immediately use an artifact and use it for a disguise. Reina had been keeping tabs on her brother. With his schedule in mind, today would be the best day to do my job. We're currently on a flying car that Reina owns. Seeing Reina driving her car, I was slightly jealous. I also wanted one, but getting a license for one seemed like a pain to get. How long did it take you to get a license for driving your car? I didn't want this drive to be full of silence, and my interest in a car like this was in full swing. So, asking her wouldn't hurt. 1 month. That was shorter than I thought. Maybe I should give it a try. After getting back, I would ask Nene for more information. The topic we just had lasted for 10 seconds. I wasn't much of a talker, and with how badly I was treated, talking to random people wasn't something that I was willing to do. I didn't know much about her. She had barely spoken much about herself. To make it worse, you could never tell what she was thinking. The whole drive was silent, and we arrived in the UK capital city of London. Traveling to a new country wasn't as exciting as I thought. With our current technology, every place looks the same. With Reina parking the car down. We exited the car, and Reina put her car inside her storage ring. Her space must be massive if she could carry a car. It was nice having someone important travel with you. Reina, being from the Burgess family, had allowed us to skip the line and enter the city right away. But before we could change, Reina's family immediately picked us up. Does it mean we've failed? Of course not. My skill allows me to curse someone within a circumference of 500 meters long. No one would suspect me if I caused him to be unlucky and die in a mishap. I then looked at Reina and wanted to ask her what the next plan was. It would be hard to do so because multiple people were monitoring me. Reina, where are these people taking us? To my house. I know that, but I just wanted to strike up a conversation. If we don't talk, these people will figure out something is wrong. Are you hungry? Before I could say anything, she grabbed a snack from her storage ring. She then moved closer to me and fed me a chocolate bar. This whole ride was out of my element. I had no idea what Reina was doing, but since we were planning to assassinate her brother, I had to play this out. The ride to the Burgess family household didn't take long. The bodyguard had escorted both Reina and me to the mansion. Looking at their property, this place looked about 5 times larger than mine. I thought my place was excessive, but my definition of excessive wasn't something in the minds of the Burgess family. Reina, you're back. The voice of a woman in her early 20s walked toward Reina and hugged her. From looking alone, you could tell that they were deeply related. She could be her mother or sister. I didn't know. Reina, who's this? The woman, finding that she didn't return alone and had me here, made her curious. He is my boyfriend. Before I could say anything, Reina had cut me off. Did she say boyfriend? What the actual fuck is going on? No, let's think this through. Since Reina had invited me to her house, it was natural for her to introduce me to her boyfriend. I now know what she was doing earlier in the car. She didn't want the guard to be too suspicious about our activity. When Reina introduced me as her boyfriend, the woman who had just hugged her smiled brightly. Where are my manners? I'm Jennifer Burgess, Reina's mother. As her boyfriend, please look after her well. Reina's mother, Jennifer, had beautifully introduced herself. From her introduction, I could say she was pretty used to this. I'm Charles Anderson, Reina's boyfriend. It's nice to meet you too. There was no way I could fuck up an introduction. I had acted a bit nervous, but that shouldn't be too much of a harm. Using my skill to track Reina's brother, I couldn't find him anywhere. That would mean that he wasn't nearby yet. I would have to use my ability to find where he is constantly. Why don't we get the both of you to settle down? Both Reina and I followed Jennifer closely. Charles, may I ask how you and Reina met? As we walked to where Jennifer wanted us, she asked me a question. Reina, beside me, glanced at me, telling me to answer. Since we are classmates, Reina and I sit beside each other in class. I found her weird at first because of her expressionless face. There were times when I was bothered by her staring at me. Eventually, she helped me with a problem, and from then on, we got along. Then, one day, she called me out behind the school courtyard and asked me out. Chapter 19 Reina, Part 2, you are listening at novelfull.audio. That's so sweet. Reina, I didn't think you had it to confess to him. Jennifer squealed in delight. She is happy for her daughter to find someone she likes. What I technically said wasn't a lie. She had helped me with this deal. Her skill-leveling capsule would help me tremendously. And Reina did call me out to the courtyard. Reina, with your expressionless face, I thought you would end up alone forever. Reina, usually expressionless, couldn't help but look away, hearing what her mother had said. Even she was a little embarrassed hearing her mother say that. After the small talk, we went to a bedroom without many things. Why would we go to this room first? Charles, you would be staying here for the day. And this will be your room. Would I be staying here for the day? I didn't think I would be staying at Reina's place. Does Reina have something else planned for me? I then looked at Reina, wondering if killing her brother was her only motive. She had planned everything we had been doing so far. And I had no clue what she was planning. What she had told me earlier was nothing like this. I needed to ask her what she was doing when we were alone. Reina, why don't you go meet your father? I will be attending to your boyfriend for a while longer. Fuck. Reina had left, and now it was only her mother left and me. I'm going to develop a headache after this. Let's go to the living room. Jennifer then led me out of the room that I would be occupying. Did you know that tomorrow is an important day for the Burgess family? Sorry, I haven't been informed much from Reina. She had called me today and dragged me here without any explanation. Jennifer sighed in disbelief at what Raina did. Even though I wanted to sigh, I could only do it inside my head. Sorry about my daughter. She does things at her own pace. Don't worry about it. I'm used to it. With what had happened so far, I couldn't entirely rely on Raina. I would have to confront her when the chance to do so is right. We then arrived in the living room, or should we call this the tea room? Honestly, I can't tell. I haven't lived with the rich or even met them before. I had heard that most of them were weird. A maid who was cleaning the room had gotten tea for the both of us. Pouring the tea, the maid left us on our own. Tomorrow, Tristan, Burgess's heir, will take over my husband's role as the head. Does Raina want to be the head? Or did Raina hate her brother? Speculating wouldn't do me any good without much information. I'm sorry if this is a weird question, but does Raina dislike Tristan? Even with her stoic look, it isn't anything positive when she speaks about him. Jennifer sighed for the second time. What I asked shouldn't be harmful. It's not like she could link what I said to the death of Tristan. I know I shouldn't say this without my daughter's permission, but knowing her, I doubt she would say anything about it. It started about 6 years ago. Both my daughter and son's relationship back then wasn't so strained. Back then, on the day of Tristan's awakening, Tristan had gained a skill. A powerful one at that. From what Jennifer was going to say, Tristan's skill must be dangerous. For her to describe what had happened must have strained the relationship between Raina and Tristan. Tristan, careless to use his skill, had used it on her sister Raina. The damage that he had caused on Raina had put her in a month's worth of coma. My husband and I didn't know how long it would take for Raina to wake up. Thank goodness that it only took a month. But waking up wasn't always a happy thing. Raina suffered an injury in her brain and lost most of her emotions. So that was why she was mostly expressionless. I started to pity her a little. Not being able to feel most of your emotions must be bland. Tristan, who had injured Raina, had avoided her like she was a plague. Not knowing how to face her, Raina's hatred for him started to increase. If only my stupid son went to Raina and apologized. Couldn't you find a healer to fix her condition? She shook her head, and any attempts made had failed. Jennifer had her hand up her forehead. It must be tough being an actual parent. My parents sucked. I wonder how they're doing. I had cursed them and had no news about them ever since. Then couldn't you or your husband get Tristan to apologize to Raina? Some of the problems could have been avoided easily. I know why Raina wanted to kill her brother Tristan, but should I do it? It's already too late. Raina had lost most of her youth due to Tristan. I don't think she could ever forgive him. And Tristan himself is too stubborn. Their complicated family situation doesn't sit well with me. With the story finished, I looked out the window and enjoyed the scenery. Tristan will arrive tomorrow, and this will be the first time they meet in 6 years. I hope Raina herself won't do anything. 6 years. Damn, to avoid your sister for 6 years. That itself was pretty trashy. He was even an adult to make it at that. He isn't helping anyone with that attitude of his. The GIS that I signed is still active. I wonder what would happen if Jennifer found out I was going to kill him. Thank you for listening. It helped a lot to say it out loud. There isn't a need to thank me, Raina is my lover, and I would be happy to help you out. She smiled at me wholeheartedly. With that all done, Raina, who had met her father, had come into this room. Chapter 20 Raina, Part 3, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Raina, how is your meeting with your father? It went well. I see. Then I will leave you two on your own. Charles, I will see you at a later date. She exited the room and headed out. Raina and I were the only ones left in the room. The atmosphere between us was tricky. Why don't we go to the garden and speak there? The garden was only outside of the living room. Going out, Reina and I walked side by side. The view of the garden was amazing. I, too, wanted a place like this. I hope Aled could make one similar to this. The place was filled with many bright flowers. Each tended with care. You heard our conversation earlier. So, what is your opinion on it? That's right. Reina, halfway into the story, was listening to Jennifer talk. Since she didn't want to barge in, she had listened wholly. My brother must be killed. I see. Even after listening to her mother's story. Reina's decision to kill her brother was unwavering. Does hatred drive her? Or was there something else? May I ask why? I doubt your hatred is the only reason you want to kill your brother. That's right. My emotions that are being suppressed will be freed once I kill him. Is that how it works? How was she so sure that would work? Is Reina's skill related to everything that has been happening so far? With how everything has been going so far, I wouldn't doubt it. How are you sure your emotions will come back, just from killing him? I just know. You knew this situation was going to happen. Why didn't you tell me? If you want me to kill your brother, you should have prepared me for this. Reina stayed silent, hearing me say all of this. What a complex woman to deal with. I hope this stress won't get to me. If you're not going to tell, you should up the reward as compensation. She looked at me, unsure of what to do. Since she had caused me so many problems, I would egg her for more rewards. You need to compensate me for all the stress you're causing me. Your mother's story had made my heart throb a little. Killing your brother would make me feel bad, so you have to compensate me. In the end, Reina caved into my persuasion. With me earning a few $100 million, I hugged Reina tightly. Surprised by my action, her eyes widened, and she blinked, unsure of what to do. Her face was blushing a bit. In the end, she is a girl. Even with her suppressed emotions, she should feel embarrassed being hugged by an attractive male. Miss Reina, dinner is about to be served. Why don't you get ready before dinner starts? I will get our guests ready. A butler, someone near our age, had come. He was average, one where you could see everywhere. Ranking in the 10B, he was near the middle of the ranking. With that said, Reina left for the second time. Dinner. Looking at the time, it had passed by in a blink of an eye. To me, it felt like minutes. Anyways, with Reina gone, the expression of the butler changed. He was now hostile with Reina away. What a sudden change of expression. You're Miss Reina's boyfriend. Yes. Yes, I'm. What about it? Break up with her. You don't deserve her. My mouth had moved upward, showing a smile. It wasn't like I was really in a relationship with her. Reina was the one who caused this. Do you have feelings for her? The man winced as I said that. For the butler to fall in love with her master. How tragic. He does even less for someone who claims I don't deserve her. Even if I did break up with her, it's not like you would be with her. From the expression alone, she judges you as just a servant, nothing more, nothing less. Her mother had approved of me while you're here trying to play tough. You should know what society this is. You could never get the approval of the Burgess family with your pitiful rank. What I said was true. I doubt anyone in the family would let this butler be in a relationship with Reina. He has no qualities to be a member of a wealthy family. I didn't need to curse him. He was already pitiful enough to forever watch his loved one from the side. Anyways, I'm going to leave. Your attempt to make me back off is pitiful. Even if I didn't know my way, being with someone hostile was uncomfortable. I made my way back to the living and hoped Reina would return. After 20 minutes of browsing on my phone, Reina returned with a dress. Wearing a blue dress, I could say it fit her nicely. Reina returned and looked confused, wondering why I hadn't changed. Your butler didn't help. And I don't want to snoop around. Do you know where I could change? Follow me. Following Reyna, we went into a changing room. With many suits in the closet, which one should I choose? Does it matter? Are you going to watch me change? Reyna stood there once we entered the room. Hearing me say that, she exited the room. I wasn't that picky with what I wore. Dovico getting the one that fit me best, I took a black suit and wore it. With me wearing it, I got Reyna back in. I doubted that I would need to style my hair. With my preparation done, Reyna held my hand and dragged me out of the room. The both of us are going to a restaurant. My parents are busy with tomorrow's schedule, so they won't join us today. With tomorrow being the big day for the Burgess family, many preparations would need to be made. I wondered how it would pan out with Tristan, the heir of the Burgess family, dying on the day of inheriting his family business.